Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at the top teams for the Open Great League. The Great League is going to be back again, and today we're going to have actually some teams that are a little bit more inspired about like the recent regionals, as there were a lot of Pokemon that shine quite a bit in this new meta, and I do think a lot of them kind of translate quite well as well for the Open Great League. So if you enjoy this type of videos, I would really appreciate if you could subscribe to the channel. Only 53% are actually subscribed, so it would be definitely cool if you could subscribe if you haven't done it already. Of course, I kind of cover everything towards the GO Battle League, so I think it's worth it, but let's move on to team number 1, right? This is kind of inspired by my brother's team actually from the Zoidus, who got the second place in the Pittsburgh Regional. This team is going to feature Gastrodon, in my opinion the current safest Pokemon in the meta. Grass-type Pokemon kind of nowhere to be seen, but also with this team we don't really have the problems against Grass-type Pokemon, as our backline can really cover those Pokemon up quite well. The thing is here, we're going to have the Covenant as our Say Swap, which is a Pokemon that my brother here was able to utilize quite well as a very good Say Swap for the current meta, and I still think it's going to be kind of true as well for the current Great League meta, as this Pokemon is able to sponge up hits like next to no other Pokemon while being super neutral against everything. Corviknight is not a Pokemon that you're going to use in order to win a certain matchup by like a lot. You're only going to be able to really wall those Grass-type Pokemon. Anything else, you're going to be very neutral against, and this is the main role for this Pokemon, and this is why I don't really feel like there's a very difficult matchup for this team. I feel like everything is kind of very much playable. I do think against, like instead of Gastrodon, there are going to be other alternative options you can run as well. I like, for example, something like a Murkrow. I like something like just generally like a flying type Pokemon again. Would make a lot of sense here as well, especially together with that Corviknight. But yeah, I do think that this is going to be a very cool team, and I do think that Corviknight is a Pokemon that you should try to take a look at, because it's going to be a strong Pokemon for the upcoming meta, as Air Cutter is going to be such a good move just to be very neutral. I think it's a great Pokemon to kind of position yourself in the battle, and that's why I have it in team number 1. Team number 2 is going to be inspired by the Pittsburgh Regional winner. We're going to have actually a team that they used as well. We're going to have here from LNDS Diner, we're going to have the Bastiodon, a Pokemon that really got a lot of problems for like most of the opponents. There was the main MVP for him in my opinion. Also destroyed my brother in the finals, sorry for that, but like his team was kind of weak against it, and that's going to be something that you're going to see quite often as well in the GO Battle League, that people are going to be weak against Bastiodon, and if you don't have a hard counter towards it, well, you're going to have a lot of options for that. You're going to struggle against this Pokemon, and so Bastiodon is really cool together, especially with that Annihilate. Annihilate going to provide you some nice coverage against those like other flying type Pokemon that you're most likely going to bait out with that, as you're still going to have access to the move Ice Punch, and I think it's going to be kind of cool with that, as Moltres is going to still allow you to have some coverage against like other flying type Pokemon and ground type Pokemon. And basically what you kind of want to do here is kind of go into the Say Swap that is weaker against what you see in the lead. So for example, you're going to have something like a Clodsire in the lead. I would most likely go into the Annihilate there, even though like both are kind of very equal on what they can do there. But yeah, just generally go into the Pokemon that you think is going to be worse against what you face in the lead, in order to then have the better Pokemon in the back. Like Marowak is, for example, a better is a better example for that. Ragefist is going to be very good against the Pokemon. Ice is going to be very good against the Pokemon, but Annihilate itself is going to get kind of outsped there. So what I would do if you face a Marowak in the lead, go into your Annihilate, leave your Moltres in the back, and hopefully you can realign yourself later, or at least get like an advantage there with the Annihilate, or at least get that Marowak kind of low that you can farm down with even maybe the Bastion later on. There's going to be a lot of kind of options there, but this is kind of how I would play this team. Then a bit of an issue, but also not really, because Elite can actually deal with it quite well. Just in the 2-sheet scenario it can be a bit tricky, but with a Smackdown buff, it's going to be quite an okay matchup there. Next up, this is going to be inspired as well by like one of the few recent regionals. We're going to have here a team around Lantern. I like Lantern a lot. Lantern is a Pokemon that really got kind of back up in this meta. And it's going to be a Pokemon that mainly is here because also, of course, that Water Gun and that Surf. I think it's a very cool Pokemon to run right now. Has a lot of play against the current meta, as you can see there as well, and it's even very good against the Corviknight, which is going to have a little bit more play now. It's a very nice neutral Pokemon that has a lot of play against the current meta game. We're going to have here the Say Swap, the Goodra, which is going to be also kind of cool because you're going to have still the water type coverage with the Awkward Tail, and you're going to be able to get there super fast, which is going to help you out against a lot of the matchups currently. And in the back, we're going to have the Shadow Scissor, which is going to be great against the Dragon-type Pokemon as well as those, Grass-type Pokemon that you don't want to face. It's one of the best answers against, like, Credilli, and that is kind of cool. You, of course, have the option here as well to go for something like a Fortress in the back, which would work out quite well. Generally, this team doesn't really have a big weakness at all. I feel like Lantern is kind of neutral even against, like, the difficult matchups here. And then Caesar is going to be able to also do a lot of fast move pressure there as well against most of the Pokemon. So I think it's a great team to run. We can now move on into a team that's more inspired by Anakin's winning team from Frankfurt, which I was able to also cast at the regional as well, which was a lot of fun. Thanks so much, of course, for that opportunity as well for that. But today we're going to take a look here at a team that's kind of more inspired by the Shadow Giratina. We're not really using the Pokemon that he had on the team. There are, for example, the Shadow Talonflame, which you're going to see in a different team later on this video as well still, which I kind of want to highlight. But the Shadow Giratina is definitely a Pokemon you kind of want to, at least prepare for, because honestly, it surprised me. It surprised me because it's mainly the Dragon Claw damage that surprised me. The Dragon Claw damage was able to even two-shot something like a Dunsparce, which you see as like a difficult matchup, but to be fair, if anybody watched the original stream there, it wasn't really a difficult matchup, because actually Giratina did so much damage even with that Dragon Claw. Dragon Breath is also an alternative fast move option, but I like the Dragon Claw generally. I think it's a very good fast move on this Pokemon. Here, Size Up Speed X is going to be very cool as well against like the weaknesses, mainly a Fairy type Pokemon with Thunderfang, and then you have this is in the back again, which is again kind of covering up the weaknesses that the lead going to have. Marowak actually going to be apparently here a bit of a weaker Pokemon as well, like a bit more of a weakness for this team apparently. But you can also substitute, for example, that Steelix maybe for something like the Corviknight, and all of a sudden that Marowak weakness is not really that common there as well anymore. That could be an alternative option there as well. But anyway, this is going to be a very cool team. Would definitely recommend you to give it a try. As we're going to move on now to a team that is going to be with the Shadow Talonflame. I think it's a team that I had kind of also already showcased or tried out before. I think I used the Shadow Charizard though. We're going to have here the Talonflame, the Ferret, and the Empoleon. I like this combination quite a bit. The only real weakness here is going to be the Dene, to the point where I actually kind of wonder, would it be better to have like something like a Mudslap in the back? I could even see like something like the Gaston having a lot of play with this team here in the back, still giving you the coverage against the Bastion that you really need here, and also against the Carbink. So maybe the Gaston would be an interesting pick for the backline there as well still. Otherwise, Talonflame hits so hard with the fast moves already, and Steroid has so much fast move pressure that's going to be very good. And I kind of want to even build another team around Talonflame, because Netiquance mainly uses Pokemon in the back in order to pressure those scissors a lot of times. I think it's kind of where this Pokemon shines quite a bit as well, so I kind of want to give it a try there as well. But yeah, this is going to be a very cool team. I think Shadow Talonflame definitely a Pokemon that's worth it. Definitely a cool alternative to like Charizard. Charizard you can still use for this team though as well if you don't have a Talonflame. Next up, we're going to have the Gaston here. Gaston, together with two Flying-type Pokemon, was a combination that we've seen Alfie use in the Frankfurt regional as well, getting up to the second place with it. And I think it's a very cool combination, because Gaston, again, is going to be a Pokemon that's going to be able to counter those Bastions here as well. Like, we kind of try to translate this one into the GO Battle League. And this Pokemon is going to be able to just counter basically the weaknesses of the Charizard, and we kind of see a similar core that we just had in the other team as well, just be kind of more completed here. But the cool thing about Togekiss is just the coverage that you have on this Pokemon. As you're going to have access to Aura Sphere, you're going to have a lot of pressure against like those Pokemon that don't want to face as a Charizard, which is really cool. And so yeah, I think it's going to be a cool team to run as well here again. Credilli could be a little bit of an issue, but then again, I don't really think it's actually going to be that difficult for this team. So yeah, I think this is going to be a cool team to run. I could also, by the way, see here instead of Psyshock on the Togekiss that you could run the move of a Dazzling Gleam if you want to have a little bit more stab damage there. And we're going to have your next team. I actually skipped a little bit too fast through it. We're going to have here the Wigglytuff, Claydol, and Gaston team. This is a team that was very good 2 seasons ago, then kind of was a little bit bad because of the Bug-type buff. And I know a certain someone who I coached with this team before and hit Legend with it, so shout out to you there. I still think this team actually kind of works quite well, but still I kind of wanted to analyze it as well here a little bit before. And what we kind of see is that maybe this team is going to be a little bit weak still against the Corviknight, but to be fair, I think it's going to be a team that might be even a little bit better than it was even 2 seasons ago, because Wigglytuff got changed, the Charm got buffed, you're going to be able to get faster through those moves, and also you're going to have Claydol, which has the Shadow version now, but also all the Grass-type Pokemon disappeared, and this is going to be a big benefit for this team here. The backline is going to be great there. The only Grass-type you have to kind of worry about is well, it's going to be that Credilli. But even here, apparently you have a better matchup with the Claydol now against Credilli, so I'm curious on how the matchup is going to work out. Corviknight there is going to be a Pokemon that's a little bit more annoying now. It wasn't as annoying last season because he actually had a very solid play with the Claydol against this Pokemon, but now people are running Payback, and this is going to make the matchup quite a bit more difficult. But then again, you have Gastrodon, which is going to have extra Water Pulse, which is going to be a little bit better again for it, and also you have Icy Wind on the lead, so I'm not too sure. I think it's going to be manageable. I think Corviknight is a little bit of a team effort, but I still think it's going to be a very solid team, and so we can move on to team number 8. Where we're going to have a team around the Carbink and also the Torterra. Torterra was one of those, not really surprise picks, but those picks that were a little bit more spicy. It had a lot of play in the recent regionals as well. And I feel like the combination between Carbink and Torterra is going to be very cool. And I like a little bit more than Bastion and Torterra. Bastion and Torterra is a little bit more the classic way to go. But what I like so much about the Carbink is that you're going to have a better matchup against that Corviknight. Corviknight can be a bit of an issue for your backline, for your Torterra. And so I think it's going to be kind of great to have that Carbink here still in order to kind of deal with it. As the charge moves of Corviknight are going to be resisted. The fast move is going to be super effective of Corviknight, but only a single super effective. And with a very, very low attack damaging move like the Sand Attack, that is not even stab. It should be kind of an alright scenario for you. So I think that Carbink is going to be a great Pokemon here. And as a glue, we're going to have that Shadow Primeape, which is going to have access to the move Ice Punch, giving you again some flying type coverage there. And you want to bait out those flying types because of what you have in the back here. There's a Pokemon that really cannot get up against those flying type Pokemon. So I think this is going to be one of the best teams that you can run. I think it's a fun one to run as well. It's a bit toxic though, but we are here for it. And so this is going to be very cool. Hopefully you enjoyed this one. We can move on to team number 9. Where I kind of want to highlight Charjabug. Charjabug had a lot of success the last few regionals, being the premier electric type Pokemon now, and this is going to be a very cool team around it. Not again like any Pokemon really from the regionals. Tinkaton had a lot of play though in the regionals as well, being a very good Pokemon in order to answer the Wigglytuff and answer some of the other Pokemon. Like it's going to be able, for example, sorry, a mosquito just literally flew into my mouth, so I had to cut this here. Yeah, this Pokemon, sorry, like a mosquito, please do put it down in the comment section. But yeah. This is kind of awkward. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about Tinkaton. Tinkaton has a lot of play. It's going to be able to counter the charge moves of Pokemon like the Credilli fully, which is great. Also, yeah, Carbink, you're going to be able to completely counter with it. And so it's kind of a cool Pokemon. Again, also counter the charge moveset of that Corviknight, which is finally like they have their own interaction in the main series games anyway. If you know about it, you know about it. But yeah, for Relegator, there's going to be a Pokemon here in the lead that's going to be very cool. You want the non-Shadow. You don't want the Shadow version. Trust me, the Shadow version is so much worse because what you're gonna gain with a non-Shadow version of the Relegator is the win against Marowak. And the win guaranteed against Marowak, which is going to be super, super important. Gives you more bulk, gives you more play in most of the matchups. The only real weakness here, I don't know, like Credilli is a bit of a weakness against like the lead if you face it there straight away, but you have Ice Beam and you go into outspeed. I don't know, not really the biggest weakness there either. You still have coverage with the exit on the Charjabug, so it's not really that bad. I think this team is really good. I think this team is really, really cool. I guess Gastron could be a little bit of an issue still, just looking at it right now. But I still think it's going to be a fun team to run. It's a fun team around that Charjabug. But yeah, we're going to move on now to team number 10. Where we're going to have my friend the Malamar. I do think that my friend the Malamar is a Pokemon that you kind of have to prepare for. I think it's a very, very good Pokemon in the current meta because it's very, very neutral. This is the thing. There are not a lot of Pokemon that can really use the bug type fast move pressure. We have one on the team, which is basically the only one that you can see in the current meta. You see like the odd Gallipot, but it's not really that common anymore. And with that, Malamar is back. Malamar is back so much because this Pokemon is going to be so, so strong. I kind of want to showcase this Pokemon again as well because it's going to have so much potential against the current meta. I do think also in the Show 6 Pick 3 format, it is kind of underrated. I think there's a lot of play there just with the offensive pressure that this Pokemon provides. Going to be able to also deal good damage against that Bastiodon, which is going to be one of those important matchups. We're going to still have here in the back the Fortress and the Diggersby. They're working quite well together. You can use the Diggersby as your safe swap for this team, but also even if your lead goes down, you're still kind of alright with them. They're kind of working well together as a core together as well, where you have like the fire weakness, of course, of the Fortress, which you're going to be able to at least hit offensively for super effective damage with the Diggersby. And yeah, you're kind of going to be having great, good synergy there with those two. And so I think it's going to be a cool team. That's going to be it for this video as well. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I will see you tomorrow again.